Hello everyone. I'm glad to see you on my channel. The story I'm going to tell you today is pure. It is true that all the bad things that happen in life happen for a reason. It is said that we can appreciate the good things, the things when they happen to us. I hope you enjoy this story. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience.
No, I can't, moaned the man. You have to. The young girl answered him. Mom, go eat, I cooked, shouted the girl from the kitchen. I'll be right there. I'll be right there, the woman answered her. Maddie sat down at the table. She had already put everything on plates. She was afraid that it would get cold. What have you got there? Came into the kitchen a woman of no age. Here, cooked porridge, smiled at her daughter in response. Good girl, kissed her mother, sat down at the table, and they started breakfast. 3 years ago, it was a happy family, father, mother, and daughter, but now it was just the two of them. Harvey, why are you so late? Asked his wife when her husband came home from work at midnight. Business, he answered. The woman did not understand what kind of urgent business can have someone who collects furniture. And what, you couldn't put them off? She kept up with him as he went into the kitchen. Imagine I couldn't. Harvey looked at what was available at home for a snack. Sit down, I'll be right there. The wife came over to feed her husband. I'll do it myself, thank you. He was somehow frustrated. 20 years ago, Harvey decided he was going to make custom furniture. He was good at it, but the money wasn't much. The man did everything with his own hands. He didn't have the space or the equipment. When he saved up, he was able to buy his first machine. The garage was cleared of all kinds of junk, and there he settled down. Maybe you should get someone to help you. His wife used to bring him lunch back in the day. No, I can do it all myself, he said. Well, work hard. I believe in you. She kissed her husband and went home. A year later, Harvey thought he could use a partner. He had a friend who did the same thing, but it was his hobby. Alex, come with me, the money, albeit small, but it is there, he called him then. Why not give it a try, Alex agreed. Years went by, the business grew. Now they moved from the garage to a bigger building. I'm so happy for you, the wife said in support of her husband at home. We haven't achieved everything yet, he sighed. And 15 years after starting it all, they had contracted with one and then several other firms. Now the finished equipment was coming to them. All they had to do was assemble it. Now the real earnings began. I'd go to work, Harvey said, and he'd be there 24 hours a day. His wife, Betty, never worked anywhere. Her husband insisted that he had to provide for the family. You worked all day, tired. Perhaps today you can relax, and tomorrow you can finish. She had already poured the liquid into glasses. Good. If such a beautiful girl offers, I cannot refuse. He took his flute. Leslie, she stood by the table and smiled. Harvey, he didn't have to think of anything. We drank to the acquaintance. You're good at your job. She pointed with her eyes to where he had recently worked. Yes, that's my job, he agreed with her. They sat. Leslie asked him how he came up with the idea. Harvey told him. They didn't notice the time had passed. The wine was coming to an end. Come on, I'll show you what I have, called the girl to her new acquaintance. Okay, it became interesting to the one. They entered the bedroom. There was a large and beautiful bed. Have you ever seen such a thing? She showed him the carved mahogany headboard. Wow, he touched the carver's unique work with his hand. Harvey, why don't you stay? She was standing very close. What are you doing? He didn't understand. I'm so lonely on such a big bed. She put her hands on his shoulders. The man couldn't resist. He couldn't believe this young woman was paying attention to him. He'd spent half of that evening and night with Leslie, so he came home late. Alex, I finished everything yesterday. I don't need to go anywhere today, he lied to his friend. He got ready and went back to Leslie's place. Hi, she opened the door in a thin robe. Hello, Harvey looked with admiration. The girl hugged him and led him into the kitchen, where a wonderful breakfast was ready. "Thank you. Now let's get to work," he said as he finished his meal. He went. There wasn't much left to do. Not 3 hours later, Harvey had finished everything. "Mistress, accept the work," he shouted to Leslie. Oh, how good! She looked in the big mirror that was on the closet. Try as he might, he was pleased with his work himself. "Thank you." She wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him, and Harvey melted again. Once again, the couple spent most of the day in bed. From that moment on, the man tried to finish his work as quickly as possible, and then rushed to his beloved. He couldn't live a minute without her. He came home later and later, and could not come at all, telling his wife that he had a serious order, and he would spend the night at work. "I'm going out." He plucked up the courage to come home and look into Betty's eyes. "How?" She was dumbfounded. "Just packing up my stuff and leaving. Sorry." He walked past her to pack his. "Harvey, explain. Why? Where to?" She couldn't believe what was happening right now. "I met someone else. I'm leaving for her." Her husband didn't mince words. He stood with his bag in the hallway, put on his shoes, looked at his wife, said goodbye once again, and left the apartment. Thus ended 20-odd years of happy, as Betty thought, marriage. What to do now? She and her daughter sat in the kitchen. It seemed to the woman that life was over. She was over 50 years old, had no profession, had never worked a single hour in her life. "We'll definitely think of something," her daughter encouraged her. First, Betty pulled out her sewing machine, which had been in the closet since Maddie went to high school. Her mom used to sew everything for her daughter, and then it was just store-bought. "Can you help me put up the ads?" Betty asked her daughter. Of course, she was ready to help the closest person in the world. Then Betty saw a notice on the doorway that a cleaning lady was needed to clean the entrances, and she took the job. She had to help her daughter, and she had to live on something. Maddie was going to enter, and not anywhere, and in the capital's university. She was preparing for it, making every effort. Her mother supported her in everything, wished her to make it in the world. "I placed ads," the girl said to the woman. "Now we'll see who else needs the services of a seamstress," as something depressed mother said. Orders began to appear quickly. Betty was approached to hem pants or sew a dress. She took on any job. But lately there had been a lot of orders for diapers and other baby linens. "I guess that's what I'm going to do." The woman was sure of herself. "Whatever you want, do what you do best," hugged her daughter. Maddie didn't ask her mother for anything. She understood how hard it was for her. She worked at jobs where she was very tired, but she received pennies for it. "Can we buy you new boots?" the woman asked her daughter. "Mom, what boots? We barely make ends meet." Maddie looked reproachfully at her. She wore demi-seasonal boots in winter. It was cold, but the girl didn't complain about anything. She was showing her mother that everything was all right. She hadn't seen her father again since the divorce. Maddie was so resentful of him, primarily for her mother. "Are you upset about something?" A woman often came to see her and stood and stroked her daughter's head. "First of all, because of you," the girl confessed to her. "You don't need to think about me. Think about yourself. You still have your whole life ahead of you." She was worried that her husband had dealt a moral blow not only to her, but also to her daughter. "Okay, I'll get ready." Maddie sat at her books. "I wish you only the best in life." Mom once again hugged and kissed her daughter, and then went. She still had to clean all the entrances in their house. The girl had a graduation party ahead of her, but she knew by now that she wouldn't go to it. "Why do you deprive yourself of such a holiday?" The woman didn't understand. "Why spend money on a dress if I need it only once?" The girl did not want to throw away so hard-earned money. "Isn't your mother the best seamstress?" laughed the woman. "Mom, calm down. Maddie has already decided everything for herself." But the woman didn't want to calm down. She spent a week picking out fabric from some old clothes. In a magazine, she saw a pattern that would be perfect for her daughter. A few weeks later, the dress was ready. "So, do you want to see your new dress?" The woman was worried because they hadn't had a single fitting. "Mom," I asked. As much as Maddie didn't want to go to this prom, she couldn't say no to her mother. The girl realized she was trying for her, so she agreed to try it on. "Oh, how beautiful it is." The woman looked at the girl when she put on the update. Maddie spun around in front of the mirror. It was a really fashionable and beautiful dress. She couldn't believe that her mom could make such a thing with her own hands. "It's good that I have shoes," Maddie said, forgetting that she wasn't going anywhere. Her father had bought her shoes once. Maddie saw the shoes and couldn't resist asking her father for them, and he gave them to her. But there was nowhere to wear them, so she only wore them a couple times. It's a good thing the size hasn't changed. "Maddie, what kind of dress you have?" A classmate came up to her that night. She was an example for all the girls at school. "Mom made it." She was shy. "You what, really? I did not think that such a beauty can be simply sewn to order." Surprised that. From that moment, Betty had so many orders that she did not have time to sew. Girls wanted dresses, skirts, and other details of the closet. After graduation, the girl went to enroll. She was very nervous. After all, the first time she was in this city. It was very difficult. There was a big flow of 3 or 4 people for one place. When she found out that there were lists of enrolled, she did not dare to go to the board where they were posted. But when she looked and saw her surname, her heart beat more often in her chest. "I got in," she shouted into the phone when she called her mother. "Congratulations, sweetheart, but don't forget about your mom. Come visit at least once in a while." Maddie heard her crying, but she didn't say anything. It was hard for her to be away from home because she was always with her mom. But to achieve something in life, she had to take a bold step, and she did it. Maddie did her best. She devoted herself to her studies. No partying, just textbooks and notes. "You're so boring," said her roommate, with whom they lived together in the dormitory. "I promised myself and my mother that I would graduate from this institute, and I will do it, no matter what it costs me." She was sure of herself. Maddie saw that many students found it easy to study. They could go out, have fun, and then come in and pass the session. Of course, they had only satisfactory, but the girl wanted to get only good and excellent. Clever girl. After the next exam, the teacher returned her credit card. "Thank you." These words were like a balm on her soul, and also praise encouraged Maddie to work further. She tried not to miss anything, so that in the future, she did not have any gaps in knowledge. The girl started writing her diploma right after the new year. She chose a topic, after which she began to master it. The supervisor who helped her to do the work was satisfied with the girl. "You know, with your brains you should definitely find the right place to work, and not to cheapen," he told her when he read her work. Yes, but would it be possible to do that? Maddie really doubted there'd be a place for her. "After graduation, be sure to come to me. I have a friend who runs a good firm. We'll try to get you a job there," he promised her. "Mom, my diploma supervisor said he'd help me with the job," Maddie called her tonight. "Daughter, you did your best." The woman was pleased. "Let's see if it all works out." Maddie crossed her fingers. It would definitely work out, the woman promised her. "I hope so." Maddie said goodbye to her mom. When defense time came up, as it always did, Maddie was very nervous. She always did, even though she had prepared herself. "Hello," she came out to the committee. She was telling and showing everything so much that she was stopped halfway through. At that moment, the girl was afraid that something was going wrong. "Did you work in this field?" One of the committee members asked a question. "No, I'm just learning." Her cheeks flushed. "Good, you should go this way. You understand everything well. You have such a mindset that this is where you should find yourself." They told her, thanked her, and told her to wait in the corridor. She looked at the one who had been studying with her all this time. the one who was holding a thumbs up. Maddie had graduated from the institute, and as they had agreed, she had come to the one who had promised to intercede for her. Yeah, I remember. He got on the phone right away and talked to someone. What was the result? The girl looked at the man when he moved away from the window and finished talking. You're not promised a high position, just a simple specialist for now. And if you agree, they are waiting for you, he said to Maddie. Thank you. She didn't know what else to say. You're welcome for now. When you get to the top, then call me, he winked at her, and they parted. Maddie had to rent an apartment. She had to call her mom because she didn't have the finances for it. You're not even coming home, the woman asked her. I'll go to work tomorrow, and then I'll probably come home for a few days, she promised. Okay, you'll be home, then we'll talk. The mom said a few more nice words and hung up. Today, the girl was still in the dormitory. She decided to make a resume in case they ask. That's what she did. The neighbor sat on a chair and looked at her. What did you do to him that he pushed you into everything? She said with contempt. Nothing, just good grades. Maddie didn't even turn to her. Yeah, tell me, that's what I believed. The neighbor was still talking behind her back. I don't care what you think, whatever you want to think. Maddie was calm. As long as she still had a place to live, she had to get things done. The next day, she was going to go to the very firm where the man had called yesterday. Hello, I'm here for a job interview. She walked past the security guards. She realized that it was serious since the building was so big and guarded. Come in. She walked across the glossy floor surface. Everything trembled inside. Are you here to see Victor? A young girl who was sitting in the reception area asked her. Yes, good afternoon, said Maddie politely. Come in. The secretary pointed to the large door of the chief's office. Thank you. She entered where there was a long desk and many chairs. Greetings. A middle-aged man looked at her. You got a call, Maddie said after the greeting. Yes, he was looking through some paperwork. Am I right for you? Didn't know what to say. Yes, you're sorry. Just a lot of things to do. Documentation. He pointed with his hand at the stacks of papers. Well, tell me what to do and I'll go. She understood everything, but he had to finish with her too. Here, he held out the paper to her. Go to HR. Maddie walked out of the office and almost sprinted to where she had just been sent. She was admitted, went through all the paperwork. You can start on the 1st of the month. The woman looked up at her. Great, Maddie realized she had practically a week to go see her mom. She didn't procrastinate, gathered the necessary things, bought a ticket, and off she went. There hadn't been many free days lately to go anywhere. Maddie was looking forward to getting on the platform. She saw her mom through the window and a smile appeared on her face. Hi, honey. They hugged as soon as Maddie stepped off the steps of the car. Mommy, I missed you so much. They picked up their suitcase and headed towards home. They had only spent a few days together, but it was enough for them. Here, take this. The woman handed her daughter the money. What are you doing? Why so much? Next month, we'll already have a salary. Maddie looked at the big bundle. Take it. While you were away, I did almost the whole town. She smiled kindly. Thank you, Maddie thought. She's going to spend all the money on her apartment payment. She drove back. There was peace in her heart. There was only a happy future ahead. Maddie went to work. The first day, she was shown where her desk was, what to do, and how to work. She was pleasantly surprised that everyone on the team was friendly. And with the young girl who sat at the desk next to her, they even became friends. Why don't we go shopping? Selena said to her. They had been working and socializing for 3 months. Are you sure you want to spend the money on rags? Maddie still didn't understand it until now. Look how many handsome men we have in the office. You have to look really good. Selena looked down the corridor. A specialist was walking by at that moment. I don't know, I can go with you, but I won't take anything for myself. Maddie was still in her opinion. Okay, agreed her friend. They often went out in the evening, wandered around the city, sometimes going out to eat. Maddie never bought anything for herself. She liked practical clothes, like jeans, pullovers, sweaters. Of course, on any given workday, that's what she wore. But when she had to meet clients or go to a meeting, Maddie had to wear a dress. "Well, you're not going to get away with it today," Selena looked at her. "Okay, I agree with you. Let's go," Maddie told her, even though she didn't really want to go to the store. But when they went through her closet in the evening, the girl realized that she really didn't have a normal dress. And here they were in the store. One, two, three, nothing Maddie liked, although Selena had said about some models that they were decent. "This one is definitely cool," turned Maddie's friend to the mirror. Yes, indeed it was okay. It was a solid-colored dress with a light-colored collar. It was both fashionable and austere at the same time. "That's it, we'll take it," Selena turned to the counselor. Well, when Maddie saw the sum for this dress, she regretted that she had agreed to go with her friend to this store. But now there was nothing to do. It was necessary to pay for the purchase. The next day, the girl came to the office not in the same form as she was usually. "Well, wow, Maddie, how good you can look," said her older colleague. Maddie was embarrassed at first, but then she got used to everyone staring at her today. "Hurry up, we're late," Selena told her when everyone had already left for the meeting. "Now," hurried the girl. She was changing her boots for shoes. The girls went out into the corridor and hurried to the hall where the meeting was held. Everyone was already there. Only the two of them were missing. Sorry for being late. They ran into the hall and took their seats, prepared to listen to what they would be told today. Nothing new was said. The same thing every time. The girls left the office. They were going to go to lunch. "Maybe we should go home and change." Maddie turned to Selena, and at that moment, someone bumped into her. Something hot burned her leg. Oops, she pulled away. "I'm sorry, for God's sake," picked her up off the floor by a young man. "Don't you look where you're going?" Maddie said to him. She saw that on the hem of the dress, which had been bought only yesterday, a coffee stain was spreading. "It was an accident. I was talking. I didn't look. I apologize again. What can I do for you?" There was a young man standing there saying a lot of words. "Well, at the very least, you should pay for the dry cleaning of this dress," Selena told him hotly. She knew this man. He was the head of one of the departments, never paid attention to specialists. He treated them like servants. "When can you give it to me?" He looked at Maddie. "Give me what?" She didn't understand. "Your dress, so I can take it to the dry cleaners." He was confused too. "You don't have to give anything to anyone," Maddie said. She stood up, examined the leg, shook off the dress, took her friend's hand, and they walked down the hall. "Come on, he has so much money, he could afford it." Selena couldn't calm down. "Stop it, please." She didn't want to tell Maddie about it. They came into the study. Of course, there were no clothes here for the girl to change into. It was time to go home. "Can you manage on your own?" Selena asked her. She didn't really want to go home to Maddie. Yes, of course. Maddie walked out of the building. She wanted to catch a cab and head towards home. "Excuse me, girl." A young man approached her from behind. Yes, she turned around and saw the man who had just recently knocked her down and poured coffee on her. "You again?" "Yes, I was looking for you," he said. "If you want, I can take you to the store and buy you a new dress." He pointed to his car, which proved what he was saying. "I wouldn't mind you giving me a ride, but I don't need to buy a dress." Maddie tried to behave appropriately. "Okay, where are we going?" he asked as they got into the car. Maddie told him the address and they drove off. "You don't owe me anything," the girl told him. She didn't look at him, just forward. "What are you talking about? If someone knocked me down like that, I would definitely demand compensation." He was sure of it. "Thank you. I'll be fine if you bring me home, wait for me and then take me back." And why didn't she think to ask about it before, in case he didn't have time? "Okay, I'll wait for you." He didn't finish the sentence, he stopped talking. Why did you stop? She asked him. I just wanted to call you by your name, but I realized I didn't know your name, he turned to her. My name is Maddie, she said. Mickey, he introduced himself. Nice to meet you, she smiled to herself, because she hadn't heard names like that in a long time. The young man waited for the girl to change, and then, when she got into the car, they drove off. I hope to see you again, Mickey said. And I hope not. She didn't turn to him, but walked up the steps. Wow, that was fast, her friend told her. Mickey drove me there and back, she told her. Who's Mickey? She was quiet at first, but then she realized who Maddie was talking about. Come on, he's a cheapskate, Selena said. What's that got to do with it? Maddie didn't understand her. No matter who asked him for a ride, he would never waste a drop of gasoline, said her friend. He wouldn't waste a drop of gas on anyone, but he gave me a ride, Maddie shrugged. Nothing else interesting happened that day, so the girls went home unhindered. But the next day, when Maddie went to work, Mickey was already standing in his car at her driveway. Hello, young lady, do you need a ride? He opened the door for her. No, thanks, I'll do it myself. Maddie was sure of herself. Tell me, why don't you want to talk to me? Mickey was riding next to her. Why don't I want to communicate? We do. She didn't look at him at all. But I can see you're avoiding me. He was looking at the road, then at her. How could you see that when we only met yesterday? Maddie really didn't want to have any affairs at work. Get in, it's a long walk, Mickey insisted. Okay, finally, agreed Maddie. She thought it would be easier for her to get in his car than for him to follow her like that and attract attention. Was it just me, or did he bring you to work again? Selena asked her this morning. He did, her friend admitted to her. And what does that mean? You said yesterday that you don't feel anything for anyone. They were sitting in their office. It really doesn't mean anything. I don't understand why he's picking on me. Maddie switched on her computer, making it look like she wasn't going to talk anymore. That evening, Mickey was waiting for her again. He wanted to give her a ride home. Mickey, you realize that everyone can see. I don't want people to start gossiping about us, she told him as they drove home. We're adults. Just because someone likes someone doesn't mean it's shameful, the young man answered her. Even though Maddie was of the same opinion, she was still very shy. She was afraid of being judged, that they would say she was flirting with a male boss to show up in some position. What are you imagining? It's not like that, he told her. Let's meet tonight at the restaurant. His proposal was very unexpected, but the girl thought about it. Selena, he invites me to the restaurant. What to do? She called her friend. What to do? Put on a beautiful dress, shoes and go, she told her. It's our first date. I don't even know. Maddie was always second-guessing everything. Okay, I'll come over and we'll make you look like candy, her friend suggested. Come over, was all Maddie said and disconnected. Selena was here in a few minutes. She went through Maddie's entire closet, but there was nothing except the dress they bought. So the girl took the austere pants from the suit and told Maddie to put a white shirt on top, as well as a vest. Now that's a look. She stepped back a little to look at Maddie. Are you sure you can wear that to a restaurant? Maddie certainly understood a little about fashion, but she was still a little hesitant. She put on some makeup, styled her hair, and was ready to go. Is he picking himself up, or do you need to be there already? Selena was curious about everything. I don't know. We didn't talk about it. I'll probably go myself. The girls called a cab, and Maddie drove to her first date in her life. We should have said I'd pick you up, right? Mickey was the first to say. He was meeting her at the entrance to the restaurant. It's okay, I got a cab just fine, Maddie told him, ashamed for some reason. They went inside and sat down at a table. Mickey looked at his companion and couldn't take his eyes off her. Why are you looking at me like that? She asked him. You're very beautiful, Mickey admitted. All evening they talked. Mickey asked how and where Maddie studied. where she had lived before. The girl told him, but some information she simply omitted. "You are so unusual, modest. There are few of them left now," the young man told her. When Maddie got to know him better, she also liked him, because earlier they said different things about him. "Shall I pick you up at work tomorrow?" he asked her when they were saying goodbye. "No, I think it's too early for the two of us to be traveling together." She wanted to leave, but he took her hand, pulled her close to him, and kissed her cheek. "Do you think it's time?" Maddie looked at him. "But I'm just being childish," he smiled. Maddie walked into the entryway where she lived, one cheek burning intensely from the hot kiss that Mickey had left behind. Right now, she was definitely realizing that she liked this man. But what to do about the job? She couldn't quit. The next day, Selena stayed close to Maddie. She had to find out everything thoroughly. What they talked about, where they sat, what he was wearing, what he said when he said goodbye. "I told you it went well," Maddie told her. "Okay, you don't want to talk, don't talk," went the offended girl back to her table. That evening, Mickey waited for Maddie outside the office. When she came out, he opened the door for her, gave her his hand defiantly, and put her in the car. "Why did you do that?" she asked him. "I want everyone to know that we're together now, so that you won't be embarrassed about anything, and behave as usual. No one will say or think anything," he assured her. Hopefully, that would be the case. They drove off to get something to eat somewhere. The young man and the girl started dating. Now from and to work, on their lunch break, they were always together. As Mickey got to know Selena better, he realized she was nothing like Maddie. "How did you two manage to become friends?" He was very surprised by that. "I don't even know, we just hit it off," Maddie shrugged. She liked being with Selena. She had a lot of fashion advice, and she knew a lot about other subjects. "No, I'm not saying you're friends, it's just interesting. Two very different personalities, and you're together." The three of them often got together in Maddie's kitchen, at places. It was fun. "Maddie, you and I have been together for a few months now. Maybe we should live together," Mickey asked her one day. "What?" "I thought people got married before they moved in together," she said. "Well, if you want, I can make you an offer. If I have a wife like that, I won't mind at all," he laughed. "Mickey, stop it." She didn't like his jokes. "What did I say, matey? Marry me?" He got down on one knee in front of her. "Are you joking now?" She didn't understand. What kind of jokes are there? He was completely serious. "Okay, I agree." She loved this man and realized that he was good not only in work, but also in life. In vain about him, other people thought so. He wasn't like that with her. "So I guess it's time for you and your mum to meet. How are you?" Mickey came to pick her up in the evening. "I'm not ready," she answered quickly. Maddie knew who Mickey's mother was. She was an executive at a financial firm. "So, what? Are you going to hide from her all the time?" Did not understand the young man. "Why hide? We'll get acquainted a little later. I'm not ready now." The girl didn't know what to say. "Okay." Then next week was adamant Mickey. He lived together with his mom in a big house, so sooner or later Maddie would have to meet her anyway. "So, are you ready?" He came to pick her up over the weekend. "No," she lowered her eyes. "Maddie, don't be silly. You still have to meet her," he told the girl. She got in the car and they drove to Mickey's house. "Hello." Maddie walked into the apartment. "Why are you so embarrassed? Come in." Mickey took her bag and coat from her. "Wouldn't you have been embarrassed the first time we came to my mom's house?" She looked at him. "I don't know how I would have behaved," the man answered honestly. A woman came out into the hallway. She looked good. Her hair was pulled back in a bun on her head. "Did you bring her?" she said, looking at the girl. "Mom, we had a deal." Mickey couldn't understand why his mother was acting like this. "Okay, come in." She pointed to the table that was set. Maddie could see that the woman was unhappy with her presence, but she couldn't do anything about it. They sat down at the table. The girl looked that all the dishes were unfamiliar to her. She noted to herself that Sarah must have ordered these dishes on purpose to see how Maddie would eat them, evaluating the future daughter-in-law. "And where did you come from, my dear?" she asked her. "My name is Maddie." She looked into the woman's eyes without fear. "Well, where do you come from, Maddie?" She emphasized the last word. "I'm from a small provincial town. I lived there with my mom, then I went to college, graduated, and now I'm working in a firm with Mickey." Maddie, as if she was preparing for this question. "Well, what do you think? A man who has well-to-do parents, a house, a car, and everything else would take you as his wife?" She didn't shy away from these questions. "I guess that's for Mickey to decide." Maddie kept looking at her. "Sometimes a person needs to be told what choice to make," Sarah sighed. "And what, you're against your son meeting and being friends with girls?" interrupted Maddie. "Why would I be against it? Against people like you?" She rolled her eyes and continued her meal. "Mom, why are you talking like that now? Maddie is my fiancée, and it's not negotiable," Mickey interjected. "Well, where are you going to live?" she asked her son. "Maddie is renting an apartment. We can live there." He knew she wouldn't let him go anywhere. "No, my dear children, you will live here. And if you want to go somewhere else, then know that not the post, nothing else will not see you like your ears." She put conditions to him. The evening ended, and Maddie waited for it to end. After that, Mickey put her in the car. Maddie drove to her house. "Why is your mom so strict? Who cares what city I come from? If we love each other and we are doing well, why can't we be together?" Maddie had a million questions. "You do not pay much attention to her. She can check you in this way." The young man justified his mother. "I don't need any checks," the girl said resentfully. Now she was no longer so sure that she wanted to live with this man. "So what? You're going to reject me just because of Mom?" He didn't believe it. "No, of course not." She hugged him. Mickey and Maddie continued their meetings. Maddie's rent was due again. Last time she had paid a year in advance. Now she didn't know what to do. "Let's go." A young man came to see her. "Where to?" She didn't know they were going out today. "You'll see." He gave her his hand. It didn't take long. After a while, the car stopped at the registry office. "What, Mickey? Are you kidding?" She looked at him. "Why, no. It was just a statement." "It's like hell," Maddie admitted. "Why is that, mother-in-law?" She didn't understand. "Who else?" She sighed. "Yes, it's hard," Selena nodded. But Mickey had promised his wife that they would move soon. They needed his mother to calm down. 6 months after the wedding, Mickey and Maddie came home in the evening. It was business as usual. "Hello, son." Sarah approached Mickey. She always ignored Maddie. "What smells so good? Do we have guests?" The young man knew that the woman only made her own pies when she had guests. "Yes, Victoria came to see us. Remember, you went to school with her?" Her mother was talking, and she didn't even notice that Maddie was standing next to her. "Mom, what Victoria? I'm married." He looked at his wife. "So what? Once you're married, you're divorced." "Victoria works in an international organization. She has a serious position. It seems to me that you are very suitable for each other." Could not calm down mother-in-law. All together, they went to the table. There was a girl sitting there. She was smiling. "Hello." She looked at Mickey. "Hello." He squinted at Maddie. "I should probably go to my room," she said. "No, you should stay here too." Her mother-in-law stopped her. Maddie realized that her mother-in-law was just trying to humiliate her. "Mom, that's the height of insolence." Mickey raised his voice. He took his wife's hand and they left the kitchen. "Let's move," Maddie asked for the umpteenth time. "We would, but a little later." She didn't know why. Her son was clinging so tightly to his mother's skirt. But Sarah wasn't going to give up. She was coming up with more and more plans to get her daughter-in-law out of her son's life. I think we're going to have a little one soon, Maddie told her husband. I think, or are you sure? He clarified. I don't know, but by all accounts she had already made a doctor's appointment, but she couldn't bear to tell Mickey. In the evenings, the same thing happened again. While the family ate dinner, she would hear so much from her mother-in-law that Maddie had no desire to go out with them. Mom, why are you acting like this? For the 1000th time, Mickey asked. What am I to do? If this Maddie is not your match, even if it takes a year or two, I won't put up with it, she sat stony-faced. And if I told you Maddie was expecting a baby, he'd wait to see what the mother would say. Are you sure the baby is yours? She asked. What are you talking about? Of course I'm sure. He got up from the table. Do you know where she was when you went on a business trip? The mother-in-law noticed that the timing was just right. She was staying at a friend's house, so that not with you. The young man was already walking with his back to the woman. And not at a friend's, and the girlfriend just covered up, the woman said sarcastically. God, calm down already, he was going to his wife. What, did you have another fight? Maddie was waiting for him in the room. A little, he didn't bother to tell his wife the details of the conversation. Mickey, maybe we'll move out, rent an apartment, we'll live separately. Now the little one will still appear, she begged her husband. Okay, I'll think about it. He began to think about it himself. Mickey really for the first time began to look for an apartment. He wanted the child was born in a quiet family, not where they are always yelling. He decided to initially rent a place to live and start saving for his own. Some savings the young man had, but there was a lot missing. Mom, soon we will move out from you, he told her. What? Yes. How can you leave a native man? Swap me for this, began to cry woman. Actually, this is my wife, and will soon give birth to my son. Mickey could not listen to any more of this talk. The child is not yours. I saw her driving with her colleagues. One drives there, the other back. Went to your mother-in-law's bank. Don't make it up. Mickey went to his room. The mother was angry. She couldn't believe her son could move out on her. He'd always been a quiet boy who listened to her. And that now, some redneck came and stole him away from her, and her favorite son would just leave. If you leave now, I will never speak to you again, she shouted to her son and daughter-in-law. Fine, Maddie would answer her. She would only cross herself if it were true. Why are you getting her all riled up? Mickey didn't like it when Maddie answered her mother. He found the right apartment. They moved in. Finally, you can go where you want, do what you want, Maddie told her husband. Come here. He held out his arms to her. It's okay, she kissed him. The family began to live their lives without anyone's advice. Maddie was still a couple months away from giving birth, and she was on maternity leave. One night they were having dinner when the doorbell rang. Are you expecting someone? Maddie looked at her husband. No, he shook his head negatively. Mickey went to open the door, very surprised to see his mother. What are you doing here? He made big eyes and turned to Maddie. Hello, son, she said, and headed straight for the kitchen. Hello. Maddie in the kitchen choked when she saw who came in. Maddie, how are you feeling? The mother-in-law was different. I'm fine, she looked at her husband. Here, I brought you some goodies and vitamins. She put the bag on the floor. Mom, what happened to you? Mickey couldn't believe the woman's miraculous transformation. Nothing. I was angry with you for a long time, and then I thought, why be angry? After all, one family. I realized everything and decided to come and repent. She sat down on a chair. It's good that you understood everything, smiled the son. Mickey walked over to the woman. He hugged his mother. Maddie looked at all of this and couldn't believe that this could have happened. But she wanted to believe in good things, so she made herself believe. Oh, that's it, kids. I see you're doing well. I'm going home then. Sarah said goodbye to everyone and headed for the exit. Well, you come back, Mickey told her. I will, and you come and visit me. It was as if the woman had had some kind of psychotherapy. because she wasn't like that now. Do you believe it? Maddie asked her husband as the door closed behind the woman. I don't even know what to tell you, he said honestly, because it was the first time he'd seen Mom like that. Okay, we'll see what happens next. Maddie tried to believe her, but still, she couldn't do it. They went on with their lives. Her mother-in-law came every day now. She brought something prepared. She gave Maddie advice on how to sleep, how to sit, what to eat, and so on. The girl listened to her, but mostly relied only on herself, and her mother always helped on the phone. Once Mickey came home, he said that he had decided to take an apartment in the mortgage. Would it be convenient now that the baby was coming? Maddie asked him. What's the difference between paying the landlord or making payments, but for your own place? He answered her. Good. Then I agree. Maddie never argued with her husband when he talked to her about such things. While she was pregnant, they bought a condo. It needed renovations. Everything was fine, even when her mother-in-law came over. They didn't have any strong conflicts. But when the baby came into the world, that's when Maddie realized that Sarah was more pretending than telling the truth. Maddie started going to different doctors with the baby. Some she needed help lifting the stroller, some she needed help getting it down. So, what? You're telling me you're not dating this young man? Her mother-in-law put the pictures on the table in front of her. Sarah, shame on you. This man who just helped me lift the stroller. Yes. I saw that you and he came to the clinic together. You gave birth to some poor man, and you married my son, and you want to slip him a child, right? She said to her. What are you talking about? Maddie started crying. Oh, cry. Tears will not help the grief. As soon as I show these pictures to my son, he will immediately leave you, the woman told her. Maddie did whatever she wanted because she was really afraid that Mickey might listen to her mom. Sarah blossomed. She realized she could manipulate her daughter-in-law, and now she was doing whatever she wanted. So, when are you moving in? She asked her son in the evening. I don't know. It's pretty much finished, just a little bit left in the nursery, and then we can move in, Mickey told her. Maddie watched them talk. She felt bad that she had to pretend now that her mother-in-law was like that. Well, happy housewarming, love. Mickey raised his glass. They moved into the new apartment this morning. The son was already asleep in his crib, and the parents were sitting in the kitchen. I hope we live a long and happy life, Maddie told him. When is your mom coming to visit? Her husband asked her. I called her. She's sick, so she can't, she said sadly. The next day, Maddie decided to go to work to meet Selena there. She told her husband about it. He didn't mind. Of course, she took her son with her. She walked and rolled the stroller ahead of her. Selena was very happy that the girl came to her. They decided to take a walk in the park after work. While the girls were walking, they met a group of guys. Selena, hi, heard the girl. Oh, Barry. She looked at the guys. Wait, Maddie. Let's go introduce them. Okay, agreed her friend. This is Barry, who we haven't met that long ago, but have met a couple times. They walked over to the young men. Barry was with a friend. They sat on a bench, chatted, and then Barry's friend volunteered to walk Maddie home. Oh, come on, don't do that, she said. What do you mean, don't? A young mom, alone, with a stroller. What if something happens? Billy, Barry's friend, said calmly. They walked down the alley, turned onto the driveway, and 2 houses later, Maddie was already in her driveway. Thank you, she told him. You're welcome. And Billy pressed himself against the girl. Maddie actually thought he wanted to kiss her, but she turned her head away, and it turned out to be a tight hug. The girl looked around, but no one was around. When they got home, Mickey had long since had dinner. How do you explain this to me? He showed her his phone with pictures of her walking down the alley with Billy and the stroller. Honey, your mom set it all up, Maddie began to say. It was the only option she could think of. What are you saying? Why do you always say things like that about my mother? He didn't understand. What if it's true? She cried. I can see with my own eyes that you are walking with a young man. He kept showing that picture. You see, Selena met a guy. They started dating, and it was his friend who offered to walk me. She began to justify herself. Okay, what's this then? Maddie's biggest fear was that he would show her those pictures. They were of her and Billy hugging. I don't know, maybe he's in the habit of saying goodbye, she said. Yeah, I'm supposed to believe you. The mother had gotten her son so worked up that he had these doubts about his wife creeping into his head. And now that he'd seen those pictures, he believed his mother more than he believed Maddie. Mickey, where are you going? She saw him leaving. Maddie, I'm not saying I'm leaving you, but I need to live alone. I'm going to my mom's, and you stay in the apartment. He was totally calm. Please, my love, it's just pictures. I'll prove to you that there is nothing between us, cried the girl. I want to believe you, but I believe my mother too. He put on his shoes and left the apartment. Maddie immediately took out her cell phone and dialed her mother-in-law's number. Why are you doing this? She asked her. Why do what? She didn't understand. You're the one who downloaded the pictures of Mickey, she yelled. And what? Why shouldn't my son know the truth, that his wife is walking left and right? Pretended that she was right, but Maddie was not. Do you realize you're ruining the family? We have a child, she told her. Goodbye, Maddie. And be warned, if Mickey files for divorce, there will be no property division. She hung up. What to do? Maddie didn't understand. She sat in the kitchen. Her son was asleep. Just what to find a way out. The girl had no money. She couldn't rent an apartment herself, but she couldn't go to her mother either. Realized that if the woman found out that she was having a hard time, she would get all sorts of hard jobs again, and for her health now it was very bad. Maddie dialed Selena's number. Hi, friend, she told her. And then she told her what had happened when they'd broken up in the park. God, what does she want from you? She didn't understand. You know, maybe you can find some information about her that you can blackmail her with. That was Selena's suggestion. What can I find about her? Do you think she led an immoral life as a child? Laughed Maddie. Well, what if, go to the archives, ask people who saw her or knew her, you'll find out something, Selena insisted. Okay, I'll try to do something, but I promised nothing, because to live as I lived with my mother-in-law is impossible. Either she accepts my existence or Mickey, and I will never be together. Maddie hung up the phone. She went into the next room to see how her son was doing, and went back into the kitchen. She began to think about her friend's words. The first thing the girl did was to type her mother-in-law's first name, last name, middle name in the search box. But except for her website in one popular social network, she didn't see anything else. Then Maddie tried to dial Mickey's number, but he didn't pick up the phone. In the morning, the girl got ready, took the baby with her, and went to the local archives. Hello, she walked through the door. Hello, how can I help you? A woman came out to meet her. You know, I work from home, remotely. I write articles for the magazine, and I wanted to write about a hard worker who worked all her life in the financial sector. Maddie began to compose. Of course, who exactly are you interested in? Was interested in the archivist, Sarah, who is now the head of finance. Oh yes, of course, it is worth writing about her. She has done a lot for the city, she said, and at that moment went to look for documents. The woman returned after a while with a weighty folder. Here it is, she said. In the folder were clippings from newspapers, from books, from other sources. Maddie began to read. There was a lot of interesting stuff in there. For one thing, she learned that Sarah's last name was not what it is now. Maddie wrote it all down on a piece of paper. She took pictures. She read everything she was given. It turned out that Sarah had been born in a different town. And the most important thing Maddie found out was that the woman had been raised in an orphanage. This information the girl recorded exactly. Selena, can you come to my place? She called her friend when she got home. Sure, what's wrong? She wondered. I'll explain everything to you, only later. If everything works out. Maddie was very excited. The friend arrived, and they were in the kitchen. Well, tell me, Selena couldn't wait to know everything the girl had learned. Wait, I have a favor to ask you. Her friend stopped her. Tell me, what is it? She stared. Can you stay for a while with my baby? I need to go somewhere, Maddie asked Selena. Sure, just on the weekend, agreed her friend. Great, then I'll see you on Saturday. She still hadn't told anyone anything today. Maddie made plans to go to that very orphanage to find out what it was like to be a child of this strict woman who tried to ruin her life. On her day off, she went to the train station, bought a ticket to the desired locality. When the bus stopped there, Maddie got off. She looked around. She also told me I came from the middle of nowhere, she muttered to herself. But time was short, so she had to go where she wanted to go. She approached the gate of the orphanage, and a man in a guard's uniform came up to her. Hello, could I speak to the director of this institution? She asked politely. Of course, the man smiled. He opened the wicket, and Maddie stepped inside. She quickly found the office she needed, knocked. Come in, she heard, and opened the doors. Good afternoon. She walked through and sat down in a chair. What can I do for you? A man sat behind the director's desk. He was young, so he could hardly have worked here years ago. You know, I'm on such a delicate request. My mother-in-law, she put a picture on the table, wants to find her relatives. What do you want me to do? Looking at that old picture, I know that she was brought up in this orphanage, so I decided to start with you, said Maddie, and herself all the while smiling. You know, 10 years ago we had a fire. A lot of documents were burned, so I don't think there's anything to be found out, he said. Is there anyone still alive who worked here then? She asked. I don't know. He scratched the back of his head. You haven't had any employees since then? She kept up. Go down the corridor. You'll meet an old woman. She's our cleaning lady. Maybe she can help you, the director told her. Thank you. Maddie left the office. She walked down the hallway and saw a woman standing at the very end with a mop in her hands. Hello. Excuse me. Could I talk to you for a moment? She asked the woman. About what? She couldn't understand. Look, maybe you knew this girl. She was brought up with you. She showed Maddie again a picture of Sarah at the age of about 17. No. She shook her head as if shaking something off. On her day off, she went to the train station, bought a ticket to the desired locality. When the bus stopped there, Maddie got off. She looked around. She also told me I came from the middle of nowhere, she muttered to herself. But time was short, so she had to go where she wanted to go. She approached the gate of the orphanage, and a man in a guard's uniform came up to her. Hello, could I speak to the director of this institution? She asked politely. Of course, the man smiled. He opened the wicket, and Maddie stepped inside. She quickly found the office she needed, knocked. Come in, she heard, and opened the doors. Good afternoon. She walked through and sat down in a chair. What can I do for you? A man sat behind the director's desk. He was young, so he could hardly have worked here years ago. You know, I'm on such a delicate request. My mother-in-law, she put a picture on the table, wants to find her relatives. What do you want me to do? Looking at that old picture, I know that she was brought up in this orphanage, so I decided to start with you, said Maddie, and herself all the while smiling. You know, 10 years ago we had a fire. A lot of documents were burned, so I don't think there's anything to be found out, he said. Is there anyone still alive who worked here then? She asked. I don't know. He scratched the back of his head. You haven't had any employees since then? She kept up. Go down the corridor. You'll meet an old woman. She's our cleaning lady. Maybe she can help you, the director told her. Thank you. Maddie left the office. She walked down the hallway and saw a woman standing at the very end with a mop in her hands. Hello. "Excuse me, could I talk to you for a moment?" she asked the woman. "About what?" She couldn't understand. "Look, maybe you knew this girl. She was brought up with you. Why don't you look again?" Maddie didn't want to leave without finding out anything. "I don't know anything." The woman rudely interrupted the dialogue. Maddie arrived home late at night. She thanked her friend for helping her out. "You're welcome. Tell me where you've been," Selena wanted to know. "No, about that later." Maddie couldn't say everything now because there was a lot of innuendo. "You're so secretive," Selena mumbled. She was going home. Maddie sat at home. She didn't know what to do. She decided to turn to social networks. Maybe she could find something there. She typed in a query. She got a lot of results. The girl began to process each one, and finally, as it seemed to her, she hit the mark. "Mickey, hi." She dialed her husband's number. "Hello." He was depressed about something. "Why do you sound so sad?" she asked. "I miss you, baby," he admitted honestly. "So, maybe we should go back." She wanted to. "And you'll forgive me after this, because I believe my mother." He almost cried. "Darling, I love you. Come back." She knew he had feelings for her too. "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow night," he promised her. After her son returned, Sarah calmed down. She got down to work. So she lost sight of the fact that they had called his wife and his son had decided to return. "Where are you going?" The woman saw the bag in the hallway. "Mom, I'm going back to my family," he told her. "You don't understand, she's cheating on you. People like her can't do it any other way." The mother started to get angry. "Calm down. If this is really happening, I will find out myself, not with your help." He looked her in the eyes. "That's it. Go wherever you want." The woman opened the door herself. "Only then don't tell me I was right." "Love, I'm sorry." He entered the apartment. "It's okay. Listen to your mom less, and everything will be fine." They stood in the hallway and hugged. Obligingly, they walked to the room where their son slept. From that day on, it seemed like things were going to get better. But Sarah turned on the fox again. She was once again visiting her daughter-in-law and son. "Okay, Maddie, if your son chose you, then that's the way it should be." She was gaining the girl's trust. "Sarah, I suggest you accept my presence in your family." Maddie didn't understand why the woman was so angry with her. She was calm, she never gave a reason, and she was always trying to get her to do something. Mom and Dad took the baby out, spent the evenings at home. Everything was fine. "Can I go for a walk?" Grandma came to visit on her day off. Of course, it really seemed to Maddie that she had reformed. She dressed the baby, put her in the stroller. Together they went down to the street. "That's it, we won't be out anytime soon," laughed Sarah. Good. Maddie was looking out the window. She needed to get out of the house now. She was waiting for her grandmother to get out of here. Sarah had her plan too. She wasn't going anywhere. The woman walked around the house to pretend they were gone, while she stood and watched the entryway where her son and daughter-in-law lived. Just as she thought, Maddie came out of the driveway. She wanted to follow her, but with a stroller, she could be seen. She waved her hand and went where her daughter-in-law was going. The woman saw that she wasn't going in the direction where her friend lived, and she'd said she had no one else here. Maddie walked into the entryway of one of the houses that was very far away from their home. At first, Sarah wanted to wait for her, but when 40 minutes passed and the girl still didn't come out, the woman spit on the whole thing. She came to the man, squinted her mother-in-law's eyes, but she was smarter now. She needed ironclad proof, so she decided not to say anything to her son yet. When Maddie returned, grandmother and grandson were already home. She went straight to the bathroom. After that, she was in the kitchen. "How was your walk?" the girl asked the woman who was sitting there. "We are good, and how are you?" asked her mother-in-law in her forehead. "You've been following me again, haven't you?" Maddie guessed. "Why again?" The woman looked at her and waited. Perhaps The daughter-in-law now will start to justify and tell where she was. It's starting just like last time. Maddie couldn't believe it. What was last time? Sarah pretended not to remember. Now you're going to tell Mickey that I've been missing for half a day. He'll believe you. And he'll leave the family. He'll be gone again, she began to recount. No, I'll be smarter now. I won't tell anyone anything until I know for sure. But if only it will be true information, then consider you will lose not only your husband, but we will take away your son from you, sat and threatened her woman. Okay, I hear you. Maddie just turned her back to the sink, continuing to wash the dishes. Mickey came in the evening. His mom looked at him and smiled. Maddie was expecting some kind of teasing that she didn't want to hear. But strangely, her mother-in-law kept her mouth shut. It was time to put her son in kindergarten. Now she could go to work, or she could stay on maternity leave a little longer. Maddie bought different beautiful things so that her son would go to kindergarten the most beautiful. And so, she and his father took him to the group for the first time. Today, for a couple of hours, warned her teacher, we need to see how the boy gets used to everything. Okay, Maddie agreed with her. She didn't mind it at all. Even those 2 hours had been a long time for her, because she'd never left the baby with anyone but Selena before. Well, and the father, naturally. The mother came. She was told that her son was already asleep. That is, when all the children had not yet gone to bed for a nap hour. He had gone to just sleep. Today come after sleep, and tomorrow you can already leave him until lunch, the educator told her. So little Arthur quickly got used to kindergarten. Sarah did not stop watching her daughter-in-law. Now, when the child went to kindergarten, she was just furious that Maddie did not go to work, but stayed at home for some time. Why does she stay at home? She asked her son. What if she's on sick leave or something? Who's going to sit around? Mickey asked. Me, the woman answered. Sure, that's how I believed you. You have the same job as us. If she comes out now and goes on sick leave in a week, who's going to keep her there? The husband knew what he was talking about. He was the head of a department that employed a lot of women. Well, what do you think she does at home during the day? Sarah never gave up on her questions. Mom, how do I know what she does at home during the day? Cleaning, cooking, ironing. I don't know, washing windows. He was tired of talking to his mother about this topic for months on end. But the woman understood that now Maddie had a lot of free time. The baby was out of the way, and she could do whatever she wanted. Maddie, I'm here to visit you. Her mother-in-law came to see her. And I have to leave, the girl told her. Where are you going? All at work are busy with things. Only you alone sit at home and go somewhere, asked her mother-in-law. You know, stop pestering me. Can I have my own business or not? Maddie wanted to get everything done before work because there was hardly any free time afterwards. Yes, of course they can, but not to the detriment of my son, she argued. Don't you have anything better to do than follow me around? Maddie was starting to get annoyed with all this. Listen, girl, I can see through you, and I won't let my son ruin his life because of someone like you. She came close to the girl. Okay, don't let me, I don't mind, and she opened the door and walked out of the apartment. She knew her mother had keys too, so would go out herself and lock up. Sarah looked after her. She resented her daughter-in-law's behavior, but there was nothing she could do. No one listened to her. Mickey, I'll probably go to work. Maddie spoke to her husband this evening. Why? You still have time. Sit back and rest, he told her. I can't. Your mother's getting on my nerves. Following me around, taking pictures, she complained. Just ignore her, her husband told her for the millionth time. I can't do that, she replied. Okay, you want to go to work, you can go out, but be warned, I probably won't be able to go on sick leave with my son. You'll have to go all the time, he answered her. We haven't had time to go to daycare yet, and you're already saying that our kid is going to be sick. Maddie felt weird hearing those words. She went to work. Everyone was happy to have a specialist in the department, especially Selena. Finally, the girls hugged each other. She looked at all her co-workers and smiled. "And how do you know how hard it is to work together?" said her friend. "Well, now I'm with you. It'll be easier." Maddie seemed happy. Now, after work, she went first to do her chores and then to the daycare center to pick up her son. Sarah didn't miss it. She saw Maddie come out of work, turn to go home, but went in a completely different direction. Her mother-in-law realized with horror that she was going to the same house she had gone to then when she was walking with her grandson. "What is this happening?" she said to herself, and she herself did not tire of taking photos and videos. She sat near the neighboring driveway for a very long time until Maddie came out of the driveway. After that, she followed her. It turned out that the girl goes to kindergarten. She had time to go to her lover's house and pick up her child from the kindergarten. The woman was angry. She did not know now, to tell her son or later, when everything will be known for sure. And then, in the woman's head came the perfect, as it seemed to her, plan. She went online to see where she could buy a surveillance product. There were a lot of things out there, but she figured a listening bug would be enough for her. Without hesitation, Sarah ordered this uncomplicated item. She began to read how to use it. When the notice came from the post office that the package had been delivered to her, she didn't even sit still for a minute and ran to buy it. At home, everything was tried. How and what? After that, Sarah went to her first business. Her most important wish was to find out that Maddie was cheating on her husband, that is, to bring her out into the open. She had already imagined everything. How this recording would take place, how Maddie would lie to her husband that something had gone wrong, and everything else. It made the woman happy. Sarah couldn't believe that she was finally going to be able to do what she had dreamed of for so long. Sometimes the woman thought that it was not necessary for her, but simply, since she could not achieve it the first time, now she had to do it. "Hello." She came to the apartment of her son and his wife. "Hello, what are you doing here?" The family didn't understand, especially Maddie. They were all going to work. "Let me take my grandson to daycare." She realized she couldn't do anything today. "Okay." The couple looked at each other. Grandma left and Mickey and Maddie went to the office. "Do you know what's going on?" the wife asked her husband. "No. It's the first time I've ever seen her get up so early and come running to us," he shrugged. "She's acting weird. As long as nothing happens to her brain." Maddie twisted her finger at his temple. "Don't say that. She's my mother." Mickey felt hurt. "Okay, I'm sorry." Maddie honestly didn't understand what the woman was doing. She was always expecting her to stab her in the back, so she wasn't surprised. "Hey," she walked into the office. "Maddie, I can't get used to you being at work." Selena approached her. "Imagine, this strange woman from the morning was at our place, took our son, and took him to kindergarten," said the girl. "And what's wrong with you? Let her drive. If there is nothing to do," Selena was not against it, if she had someone to help her. "It's good for you to say. You don't have a mother-in-law like that," Maddie said sadly. "Come on, don't worry. She's just bored. She doesn't know what to do." Her friend tried to calm her down. "Yeah, and I should be her object of amusement," sighed Maddie. Afterwards, they set to work. Mickey came in at lunchtime, picked up his wife to go out together. "I'm so glad you're paying attention to me." She stroked her husband's cheek. "What are you talking about?" He turned to her for a moment. "It's just, I'm so tired. Your mom is very much in our lives, don't you think?" Maddie was being serious. "Oh, I'm so tired of all this. She about you, you about her. It's like I'm in the middle of two fires." He couldn't talk about these topics anymore. "Well, I won't mention it again," Maddie promised. She had been so tired lately. No one even suspected what the girl was doing, how and when. "Everyone, let's have lunch, and we won't bring it up again." He parked. They got out of the car. "Let's go." Maddie gave her husband her hand, and they went inside the cafe they both loved so much. In the evening, Maddie went about her business again and then ran after her son. At one point, she thought she saw her mother-in-law again, but it didn't matter to her anymore. "Hi, we're home." She entered the apartment. "Come on in. I've got something delicious for you." Mickey was waiting for them at home. "Oh, I'm so tired. I just want to lie down." Maddie went into the room. She knew she might offend her husband, but she really didn't have the energy. "What's the matter with you?" Mickey came into the room after feeding his son ice cream. "Mickey, don't be mad. It's just that I can't do it." She was holding her head. "Well, get some rest." He didn't understand what was going on with his wife, although sometimes he wondered if maybe she'd gone to work early and he told her that. He lay awake at night and couldn't sleep, though she should have. "Okay, just don't blame me later for your family life falling apart." She looked up, took her grandson's hand, and they left the apartment. "What is she talking about?" Maddie put her arm around her husband. "That's it. No need to talk about it. You're annoying me." He was telling the truth. While husband and wife were at work, Sarah planned everything. She decided to ask her friend to take a walk with her in the evening. "Maria, hi. I'm picking up my son from daycare today. Can you come with me?" She called her. "Sure, what's wrong?" Cindy was so arrogant, she never asked anyone for help. "Just help," she told her. "Okay, call me where and when to come over," Masha agreed. In the evening, Sarah left her grandson and her friend on the playground, and herself went to the house where her daughter-in-law always went. "Today I will bring you out," she said under her breath. But no matter how much the mother-in-law did not sit, she did not wait for her daughter-in-law. She couldn't wait any longer. She returned to the playground. She saw that her friend was already cold, and her grandson was playing reluctantly. "Thank you," she thanked Maria. "Well, you friend, of course you give." The woman went home, and the grandmother and her grandson went to her house. "Here we are." They entered the apartment. "Yeah, let me undress him." Mickey sat down in front of his son. "Where's your wife?" Sarah couldn't believe she was there with him. "Look, leave her alone," Mickey asked her. The mother realized it was better to stay away from them today. She went home. Tomorrow was going to be a day off. Sarah decided that by all means tomorrow, she would fulfill her dream and do what she wanted to do. That morning, she took a long time to get ready. When everything was ready, she went to her son and daughter-in-law's apartment. As she expected, Mickey wasn't home. "Hi," walked Sarah into the apartment. "Why so early?" Maddie asked her. She looked at her watch. "Early risers get up early," she retorted. "Come in. Mickey's not here and we're still asleep," the daughter-in-law muttered, and went to her room to lie down some more. Just what the mother-in-law needed. She went to the kitchen, turned on the water, as if she was going to do something. And at that moment, she found her daughter-in-law's bag, and attached to it the very bug that had been bought a long time ago. After that, the woman unsealed the cottage cheese, took out the eggs, and began to make the dough for the cheesecakes. Sarah was doing her best for her grandson. "Grandma," she heard when almost everything was ready. "Hi, my good one," they hugged. Granny then sat her grandson at the table and began to treat him to her signature cheesecakes. "Oh my God, it smells so good." Maddie went to the bathroom. "Come in and I'll feed you," called her mother-in-law. She closed the door behind her. Soon the daughter-in-law was sitting at the table in the kitchen. She poured herself a cup of coffee and tasted her mother-in-law's cooking. How was it? The woman waited for her approval. "Very tasty, thank you." It was true. In fact, if Sarah hadn't been so much a part of Maddie's life, she would have had a different way of dealing with her. "All right. It's my pleasure, but don't think you can placate me with those words." Her mother-in-law wasn't looking at her. She had already turned away from the stove. "What have I done to you wrong? Your son is happy with me. I gave birth to your grandson. We live. Everything is good." Maddie was ready to cry. "Oh, with your tears you will not relieve me," said the woman haughtily. "That's it, I don't want to talk anymore." Maddie got up from the table and went to her room. "Do you want to rest today? I'll babysit my grandson," Sarah shouted to her. "What's gotten into you lately?" The girl looked out of the room. "Just, Mickey said you were tired." She shrugged, but no one saw it. The woman needed to lure her sister-in-law out of the house. Tonight she would definitely go where she always went, and her device would certainly record everything. That's when the dear bride would have no chance of getting away. "Okay, if you suggest it, I'll go visit." She left the room in jeans and a sweater. Of course, she was putting the dishes in the closet. "I don't know, thank you or something." She walked over to her mother-in-law. "That's it, go, rest easy, and don't think about anything." The woman sent her off. "All, bye." She put on sneakers and wanted to go out. "Maddie, and the purse." Her mother-in-law handed it to her. She didn't want to take it, but, well, everything is in it. Maddie didn't want to argue with Sarah, so she took it and left the apartment. First, she decided to just take a walk to be alone. Then she sat in a cafe, eating ice cream. She called Selena. "Hey, come to the park," Maddie called out to her friend. "How'd they let you out early in the morning? I didn't understand." "Here, mother-in-law came, told me to go for a walk, and I did not refuse and went," the girl told. "I'll be right there," the friend promised. Maddie sat and waited for her. She dreamed like this, to sit and chat. There was one more thing to do today, but she left it for later. When Selena arrived, the girls went to the rides like when they were young. Then they sat in the children's cafe, ate cotton candy, drank milkshakes. "It was so nice spending time with you today," Selena said to her friend. They hugged each other. The time was approaching evening. After her friend left, Maddie took a familiar route. She walked into the entryway, went up to the floor, opened the doors with her keys. "Hi," she said hello to the interior of the apartment and began to undress. "I'm here," she heard a voice from the room. Now the girl entered there. The man was lying on the bed. "How did you spend the day?" he asked while Maddie was in the kitchen. "I'm fine, they let me go for a walk today." She carried the decanter from the kitchen. "Come here," he called out to her. "Samuel, take your time. It's coming." She poured from the carafe into a glass. "I can't wait for you, I'm tired." He even moaned a little. "Now, you've waited so long, you'll wait a minute more." She rummaged through the laundry. "Come on," he couldn't stand it. "Okay, come on," she walked over to him. A few minutes passed. "I can't," he practically screamed. "You have to," she waited patiently. "Why do you need all this? Why do you come to me?" He spoke in a way that hurt her. "It's okay, now we'll try again, and we'll definitely succeed," she spoke very calmly. "I don't want to," he turned away from her. "Samuel, you can't do this to me," she said sternly. "What about you? When you want, you come. When you don't want, you stay at home with your husband." The man seemed to be crying. "Don't be silly. You know I have circumstances." She looked at him. "Yes, I understand." He gave her his hand. "Then what are you doing? I'm all for you and you." She stopped talking. "I'm sorry. Let's try again." He coaxed her. "Okay, wait. Now, I'll get up differently," she answered him. Waiting. He just didn't say anything. Then there was some movement, then a shriek, first his and then hers. "See, you did it." The girl couldn't catch her breath. "Thank you." He was breathing hard too. "Are you thirsty?" The sofa creaked. She stood up. "Yes," Samuel said. Now, she poured from the decanter and handed it to him. "Shall we do it again?" he asked Maddie. "Wait a minute now." She was agreeable. After that, there were shrieks, oohs, and the creaking of the couch or bed again. "When are you coming again?" Samuel asked Maddie. "I don't know how it will work out. Maybe tomorrow night," she said as if she didn't want to part. "I'm always waiting for you." continued the long pause. "I'll be there," she promised. The slam of the front door and silence, only footsteps on the stairs. Sarah rubbed her hands together. All of this dialogue she had heard, and of course she had recorded it. She waited impatiently for her son to come home from work, and then her daughter-in-law. The woman wanted to sit the couple at the table and play the recording. That's what it was all about. And finally, she was able to get the girl to come clean. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Mickey wondered. "I'm waiting for you. I have wonderful news for you." Sarah smiled a smile that could take you to Hollywood. "Speak." He stood in the doorway, waiting. "No, we have to wait for your wife first, and then we'll all talk together." She was so happy it was impossible to put into words. "Okay." Mickey couldn't understand a thing. He went to the bathroom to wash his face. After that, he came into the kitchen to eat dinner. Mom was whistling a tune. She was having fun. She put what she'd made today on a plate and set it on the table. "So, what are you doing here and where's Maddie?" He was curious about everything. "Now, you'll find out everything. Don't rush things," she reassured him. What kind of secrets? Mickey couldn't understand. All in good time. At that moment, the front door slammed. Maddie came home. "Hi, come in here," called Mickey's wife. Now, the girl first, as well as her husband, went to the bathroom. "Of course, it is obligatory," said the woman with a smirk. "Mom, don't start," looked at her sternly son. No, it's okay." She was in anticipation of what was about to happen. "Maddie, hurry up already," her husband rushed her. "What happened?" She walked into the kitchen. "Sit down." The woman showed her to a chair. "Is Arthur asleep?" the girl asked her mother-in-law. "Yes, everything is fine. He is playing in his room." The woman nodded her head. "Well, tell your secret already," insisted Mickey. "Here." She put a small device on the table. "Listen." Sama stood beside it, ready to listen to what her sister-in-law would say to it. Not a picture now, not a story, but real voices. "What is it?" The husband turned to his wife. "What did you hear?" Maddie asked him. She realized that from the conversation she understood something completely different, not what was really there. "Now I really believe Mom." You could see on Mickey's face that he was not at all happy about what his mother had just shown him. "Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit of your story?" Maddie looked up at her. "What are you diverting the conversation? We're talking about something completely different now," raged her mother-in-law. "Mickey, did you know that your mom was raised in an orphanage?" She turned to her husband. "What? How did you know that?" The woman started to get nervous. "Who cares, since you wanted all the people in this family to be honest? So be that way with us." The girl glared at her. "Maddie, calm down. What does my mother's story have to do with it now? If you are at fault, then answer for yourself," practically shouted the husband. "And I insist." She stood up too and spoke firmly. "Mom, what does she want from you?" Already did not understand anything man. "I do not know," turned away the woman. "Okay, if you don't want to say anything, then I'll tell you everything myself." Maddie sat back in her chair. The woman said angrily, "She's a scum, she's guilty of it, and she's telling on me," the woman said. "Does the name Samuel mean anything to you?" asked the girl a question. It was obvious that Sarah was tense. "Are you delirious?" the mother-in-law screamed now. "It's you who are delusional. If you hadn't started following me and saying that it's my fault for cheating on my husband," Maddie was already shouting. "Women, calm down. Tell me what's going on." Mickey tried to calm them down. "What, Sarah? Do you want me to tell you or do you want me to tell you?" The sister-in-law was belligerent. "Maddie, who is this Samuel?" Her husband took her by the shoulders. "He's your mother's own brother," she said calmly. At that moment, Sarah was dumbfounded. She stood staring at the girl with big eyes. "How do you know?" She couldn't contain herself any longer. "So, call me." Mickey realized that there was more to the story. First, he sat his mother on a chair, then he poured water and put some drops of sedative in it. After that, he did the same with his wife. "I'm calm," Maddie told him. "Mom, tell me, who is this brother? How did Maddie recognize him?" Mickey wanted to know. "I don't want to talk about it," she tilted her head. "Well, I do. Then when I found out your mother had been raised in an orphanage, I went there. Of course, the young director didn't know anything, so he sent me to an old woman. She used to work as a nurse, but now she was just a cleaner. She told me the story." Maddie looked up at her mother-in-law, who was still sitting there, staring at her desk. "Tell me the story," her husband asked. "She and her brother Samuel lived with a good family. I don't know what happened to their parents, but they died one by one. 9-year-old Cindy and 1-year-old Samuel were put in an orphanage. They lived there all their childhood," the girl said, and kept looking at her mother-in-law, who sat like a stone. "Mom, is it true?" Her son tried to get through to her. "It's true," Maddie answered for her. "When Cindy was 18 years old, she graduated from the orphanage, but she didn't think about her brother. She'd gone to school, gotten married. At that point, she could have quietly filed papers and taken custody of her brother to get him out of there. But your truthful mummy did nothing of the sort." "I couldn't," screamed Sarah. She was already crying. "Of course you couldn't. The husband was a factory manager who provided everything for the girl, got her a good job. Why did she need another mouth?" Sarcastic Maddie sneered. "What are you talking about?" The mother-in-law spoke up again, and the fact that when Samuel turned 18, he didn't go to anyone but his only sister. And what did she do? Maddie stared at the woman, tears flowing from her eyes as well. "And what did she do?" The son looked at his mother. She opened the door, pretended not to recognize him, and slammed it shut, right in front of his very nose, spoke as Maddie shot. "So how did you manage to get in touch with him?" Mickey didn't understand a thing. "After they told me who and when, I decided to search social media. And I did, but there were a lot of similar men. I started to write to everyone, but the men were not the ones I was looking for." Maddie was already hysterical. "You didn't look after you chased him away?" Mickey had tons of questions. His women were tied up with one man, and he knew nothing about it. "That's not all." The girl looked at her husband. "Is there more to it?" He didn't believe it. "Yes, I finally found the same Samuel. He told me the same story as the woman from the orphanage. We started corresponding, but it didn't last long. Samuel got sick. He was admitted to the hospital. He wrote to his sister, but she said she didn't know him. She was afraid of something." Maddie looked again with contempt at the woman who suspected her of something. "I couldn't help him," the woman said calmly. She was crying, her tears just dripping onto the table. "Yeah, well, I did." The girl couldn't talk about it anymore. "And what did you do?" That was the question that interested Mickey. "I went to the hospital where Samuel was. The doctor told me that without proper care, the man wouldn't get up again. I felt sorry for someone who had suffered since he was a child. I took him in, got an apartment close to work so I could walk. I studied massage on the internet and started giving it to him. After a year, Samuel started to move, and I keep going to him. It won't be long before he's on his feet." Everyone at the table was silent. "I couldn't," Sarah repeated. "What couldn't you do? Give money for a nurse?" Maddie got back on her feet. "Forgive me," she continued to cry. "It's not us you should apologize to. It's your brother," said Maddie. "Can we go to him right now?" She looked Maddie in the eye. "No, he's resting now. Stay here. We'll go tomorrow." The girl stood up and left the kitchen. "Mom, how could you do that? I always thought you were the most honest and kindest woman in the world." Mickey put his head in his hands. "Maddie, come here," Sarah called out. When she came in, she began to tell them what it was like. "We did live in an orphanage. I hated everyone and everything. I couldn't be there. I dreamed and waited to get out. I swear I wanted to pick up Samuel, but I couldn't. As soon as I stepped through the gate, I started looking for my husband. I didn't pay attention to ordinary guys, and then a grown man, your father, came along. She turned to Mickey. And what? He forbade you to do all this? The man guessed. No, but I was afraid someone would find out. They'd judge me, they'd gossip, she said through her tears. It's her own blood. How could you do such a thing? It was just mother and son talking now. Somehow I managed to get into the people and do everything to live well. And so he did not try, she said confidently. In such disheveled feelings, everyone went to bed. Sarah couldn't sleep until morning. Coffee for everyone. Mickey tried to lighten the mood in the morning. Thank you, darling. Maddie came out into the kitchen. She knew for sure now that her mother-in-law wouldn't do or say anything to her. Shall we go? Mickey asked. Yes, but we'll drop our son off at Selena's first, the wife asked. Good. He has no business being there, agreed the husband. They talked, and only Grandma was silent. Mom, you are strangely silent today. The son turned to her, but she did not answer him. Selena didn't mind babysitting the boy, and the family moved on. Samuel, it's me so he doesn't get nervous or scared, Maddie said from the hallway. She walked to the room where the man lay, taking a seat on the edge of the couch. It's early today, he glanced at his watch. Listen, don't be nervous, it could get worse, Maddie warned him. Your sister's here to see you. At that moment, Sarah entered the room. She knelt on the couch. I'm sorry, love. She began to cry. Cindy, spoke Samuel, stand up. You have nothing to apologize to me for. But what about it? A stranger helped and I couldn't, she cried again. It's all right, he took her hand. Maddie, Sarah, turned to her. Calmly, she only touched her shoulder. Mickey walked over to his wife, took her hand, and led her away from the room. Brother and sister had to talk. How did you manage to do that? Mickey still couldn't understand. It worked and it worked. She was so tired to start that topic again. Okay, when you're in the mood, you'll tell me, he understood her. At that moment, Sarah walked into the room. Maddie, can I talk to you? She said. Is something wrong with Samuel? The girl was wary. No, I want to talk. She led her into the kitchen. I'm listening to you. The daughter-in-law didn't expect anything good from her mother-in-law. I'm sorry, baby, she hugged the girl. Finally you realized that I am normal, and your son made the right choice. Now tears were already rolling from Maddie's eyes, and not out of pity, but out of justice. I always thought I knew and could do everything, and those who weren't right for our family. When you came along, I saw a simpleton, and you turned out to be something else, and they stood there hugging. Sarah, has your brother forgiven you? Maddie asked. Yeah, he said he didn't hold it against me. Did you? It was important to her now. I never did. If you were nice to me, I'd be nice to you too, she admitted. Mickey came in and found them in this position. At last my women are getting along, he said, and went over and hugged them. I'll tell you what, my dears, I think I'll stay here for a while. I have money. I'll hire a nurse and specialists to help Samuel, she cried again. What about the job? Wondered the son. I'll leave room for the young, said Sarah. Finally, the son hugged his mother. Maddie, I'm sorry again. She held out her arms to her daughter-in-law. It's okay. The important thing now is to get Samuel back on her feet. They hugged again. Who would have thought it could end this way? The husband and wife walked out of the apartment.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.